The alarm bells rang through the space station like angry metal birds. Admiral Jake Morrison jumped from his chair in the command center. His coffee cup hit the floor and broke into pieces. Around him, officers ran to their stations with worried faces. "What's happening?" Jake asked his communications officer, Dr. Lisa Parker. She was a smart woman who could speak with aliens better than anyone else in the fleet. Lisa's fingers moved fast across her computer. Strange sounds came from the speakers. They sounded like crying mixed with electronic noise. "Sir, we're getting a distress signal from the Altair system. It's from the Villani." Jake felt his heart beat faster. The Villani were good friends too. Humanity. They lived in beautiful underwater cities on their ocean planet. They were peaceful people who loved art and science. They had helped humans learn about space medicine and how to grow food in zero gravity. "Play it," Jake said. The sounds got clearer. Lisa worked her magic on the alien language. Soon, words formed in the air through the translation system. The voice was full of fear and pain. "Help us. Please, help us." They came from the dark space between stars. "Our cities are burning. Our people are dying. We don't know what they want. They take our people away. We can't fight them. Please, anyone who can hear this, help us." The message repeated over and over. Each time, the voice got weaker. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. The Villani were like children when it came to fighting. They had no weapons, no warships. They trusted other species to protect them. That's what friends did in space. "Get me Captain Ben Richards on the Vengeance," Jake ordered. "And prepare the Discovery and Retribution for immediate departure." The big screen in front of Jake lit up. Captain Richards appeared. He was a good man, tough but fair. His ship, the Vengeance, was humanity's newest and strongest warship. It had enough weapons to destroy a small moon. "You heard the message?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. My crew is ready. We can launch in 2 hours." Jake nodded. "Take the science ship Discovery and the heavy cruiser Retribution with you. Dr. Parker will come on your ship to help with alien communication. I want you to find out what's attacking the Villani and stop it." "What if it's pirates?" Richards asked. "Then we arrest them and make them fix what they broke," Jake said. "What if it's something worse?" Richards smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "Then we remind them why the galaxy calls us Deathworlders." Jake liked that answer. Humans had earned that name the hard way. Earth was a dangerous planet. It had storms that could destroy cities, earthquakes that split mountains, and diseases that could kill millions. But humans survived. They got stronger. They learned to fight back against anything that tried to hurt them. Other alien species lived on safe, quiet planets. They never had to fight for survival like humans did. That's why they called humans Deathworlders, people who came from a world of death and lived to tell about it. Dr. Parker gathered her equipment. She was excited but also scared. "Admiral, what if we can't communicate with whatever is attacking the Villani?" "Then we'll communicate with weapons," Jake said. "The Villani are our friends. We protect our friends." Lieutenant Amy Foster, the navigation officer, looked up from her computer. "Sir, the trip to Altair will take 6 days through hyperspace. That's a long time if people are dying." Jake felt helpless. Space was big. Even with the fastest ships, it took time to travel between stars. The Villani might all be dead by the time the human ships arrived. "We go as fast as we can," Jake said. "That's all we can do." The 3 human ships left the Sol system like arrows shot from a bow. The Vengeance led the way, followed by the Discovery and Retribution. They carried the best weapons humanity had ever built. They carried Marines trained for any kind of fight. They carried the hope of saving their alien friends. Captain Richards sat in his command chair as the stars stretched into lines during the jump to hyperspace. He thought about the Villani. He remembered visiting their planet 2 years ago. The Vellani had shown him their art galleries filled with living sculptures made from coral and light. They had shared their music, which sounded like whale songs mixed with wind chimes. The Vellani children had been so curious about humans, they asked funny questions like, do you really come from a world with fire mountains? And is it true that your planet tries to kill you with frozen water falling from the sky? Richards had laughed and told them stories about volcanoes and blizzards. The Vellani children thought humans were the bravest people in the galaxy for living on such a dangerous world. Now those same children might be dead or captured by unknown attackers. "Sir," said Tech Sergeant Mike Collins from the communication station, "we're picking up more signals from the Altair system. The messages are getting weaker." Richards closed his eyes and made a promise. Whatever was hurting the Vellani would pay for it. Humans didn't start fights, but they sure knew how to finish them. The three ships raced through hyperspace toward a system under attack. The crews didn't know they were flying toward the biggest fight in human history. They thought they were going to rescue their friends from pirates or rebels. They had no idea they were about to meet an enemy that ate entire civilizations for breakfast. The journey continued through the dark space between stars. In 6 days, they would learn the true meaning of horror. They would see what happened when an unstoppable force met an immovable object, and the galaxy would never be the same. The human ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Altair system. Captain Richards expected to see the beautiful blue-green planet that the Vellani called home. Instead, he saw hell. "Dear God," whispered Ensign Tony Martinez from his station. It was his first mission in deep space. He had never seen anything like this. The planet that should have been covered in crystal cities and floating gardens was now black and red. Huge fires burned on the surface. The lovely blue oceans were turning brown with smoke and death. Parts of the planet looked like someone had thrown rocks from space at it. "Get me a full scan," Richards ordered. His voice was tight with anger. "Doctor?" Karen Thompson, the ship's expert on alien life, worked at her station. Her face got more worried as she read the results. "Captain, I'm reading massive destruction on the surface. The Vellani cities are gone. I can't detect any of their floating biodomes." "What about life signs?" Richards asked. "Very few. Maybe a few thousand Vellani scattered across the planet. There should be millions." Richards felt sick. The Vellani were peaceful people. They didn't hurt anyone. They made beautiful art and shared their knowledge with anyone who asked. Now they were almost all dead. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Amy Foster from the sensor station, "we have unknown ships in orbit around the planet. They're not like anything in our database." The main screen showed the enemy ships. They looked wrong. Instead of metal and clean lines like human ships, these vessels looked like they were grown instead of built. They had bumpy surfaces that moved and changed shape. Strange lights pulsed under their skin like heartbeats. "They're organic," Dr. Thompson said with shock. "Those ships are alive." Commander Steve Walsh, the Marine leader, stepped forward. "How many ships?" 12 large vessels, and maybe 30 smaller ones," Amy reported. "They're just sitting there, like they're waiting for something." Richards didn't like the sound of that. Waiting for what? Before anyone could answer, the alien ships started moving. They turned toward the human fleet like sharks smelling blood in the water. "Red alert," Richards ordered. "All hands to battle stations. Shields up, weapons ready." The bridge lights changed to red. Alarms rang through the ship. Hundreds of crew members ran to their positions. The Vengeance was ready for war. "Sir," Dr. Parker said from the communication station, "I'm trying to contact the alien ships. They're not responding to any standard greeting." "Keep trying," Richard said. "Maybe they don't understand us." The alien ships moved closer. As they got near, the humans could see more details. The ships had holes in their sides that looked like mouths. Things that looked like tentacles waved from their surfaces. Worst of all, The ships made sounds that came through space itself, like screaming mixed with grinding metal. "Captain," Dr. Thompson said in a shaky voice, "I'm reading life signs inside those ships, but they're not normal. It's like millions of minds all connected together. A hive mind," Richard said. He had read about such things in science books. All the aliens thought as one giant brain. They had no individuals, no personal thoughts, only the group mind. "Sir," Amy called out, "the alien ships are charging weapons. They're getting ready to fire at us." Richards had seen enough. Fire warning shots across their bow. Let them know we're armed but don't want to fight. The Vengeance fired to laser blasts that passed in front of the lead alien ship. It was the universal sign for stay back that all spacefaring species understood. The alien ships answered by firing at the human fleet, got green acid shot from the alien weapons. It hit the vent shields and made them spark and smoke. The alien weapons didn't use energy or missiles. They used some kind of living acid that tried to eat through the shields. "Return fire," Richards ordered. "All ships, defend yourselves." The space battle was short, but terrible. The human ships used their speed and training to stay away from the alien acid weapons. The Discovery and Retribution spread out to attack from different sides, while the Vengeance held the aliens' attention. The alien ships were tough, but they were also slow. Their living hulls could heal from damage, but they couldn't heal fast enough when hit by human weapons. One by one, the smaller alien ships broke apart and died in space. But the humans learned something scary. When an alien ship died, it screamed. The sound came through space and hit the human ships like a physical blow. It was the death cry of a living creature, not just a machine breaking down. "Captain," Dr. Thompson said, looking sick, "those ships aren't just vehicles. They're creatures. We're killing living beings." Richards felt bad about that, but he had no choice. They attacked first. We're defending ourselves. The battle ended when the last alien ship exploded in green fire. The human fleet had won, but the victory felt hollow. The planet below was still burning. The Villani were still dying. "Sir, Commander," Walsh said, "request permission to take a team to the planet's surface. We need to find survivors." Richards nodded. "Take 20 Marines. Full protection suits. We don't know what kind of weapons these aliens use down there." 2 hours later, Walsh and his team stood on the surface of the Villani homeworld. What they found made grown soldiers cry. The beautiful crystal cities were melted into twisted metal. The floating gardens, where Villani children played, were now empty holes in the ground. But worst of all were the buildings that the aliens had made. They looked like factories, but not for making machines. They were for making more aliens. The Marines found thousands of Villani prisoners inside, kept alive, but changed. The aliens were slowly turning them into something else. "They're not just killing them," Walsh reported back to the ship. "They're using them to make more of themselves. It's like a virus that spreads by changing other life forms." Richards felt pure rage fill his heart. This wasn't war. This wasn't even murder. This was something far worse. The aliens were stealing the very souls of their victims. "How many survivors?" he asked. "Maybe 3,000 Villani left alive and unchanged," Walsh said. "The rest are either dead or ... converted." Dr. Parker found an old Villani hiding in the ruins of a library. The alien was so scared he could barely speak, but he managed to tell her the truth about their attackers. "They call themselves the Zephyrians," she translated. "They've been sleeping in the dark space between galaxies for thousands of years. Something woke them up. They're hungry. They eat entire civilizations." The old Villani grabbed Dr. Parker's hand with his tentacle-like fingers. "They're not finished here. This is just the beginning. They have maps of all the inhabited worlds. They know where your people live." Dr. Parker felt ice in her veins. "Earth." The Villani nodded. "They know about the Deathworlders. They want to see if you taste different." Captain Richards called an emergency meeting with all his officers. The news was worse than they thought. The Zephyrians weren't just attacking the Volani. They were starting a feeding frenzy across the galaxy. "We need to call for reinforcements," Richards said. "This is bigger than a rescue mission now." "Sir," Dr. Thompson said quietly, "what if reinforcements aren't enough? What if these things are too strong to stop?" Richards looked at the faces of his crew. They were scared, but they were also angry. They had seen what the Zephyrians did to innocent people. They had seen the factories where living beings were turned into monsters. "Then we make them pay for every person they've hurt," Richards said. "We show them what happens when you attack a Deathworlders' friends." The human ships prepared to send a message back to Earth, but they all knew the truth. By the time help arrived, the Zephyrians might have eaten half the galaxy. The rescue mission had failed. Now it was time for war. The communication room on the Vengeance was filled with the most important people in human space. They weren't all in the same room, but their voices came through quantum communicators that worked faster than light. Admiral Morrison sat at the big table on his space station. General Patricia Hayes spoke from her office on Earth. Captain Dan Miller joined from his intelligence ship in the outer system. "Show me everything," General Hayes said. Her voice was cold and hard. Dr. Karen Thompson put her findings on the big screen. Pictures of the destroyed Volani cities appeared. Then came images of the alien factories where living beings were turned into monsters. Finally, they showed the organic ships that looked like giant sea creatures made of metal and hate. "The Zephyr are not just another hostile species," Dr. Thompson explained. "They're a plague. They consume other intelligent life forms and use their genetic material to create new versions of themselves. They've been doing this for thousands of years." Captain Miller, the intelligence officer, added more bad news. "Sir, we've detected similar attacks starting in 3 other star systems. The Crystalline Collective in the Vega system has gone silent. The Mentari scholars in the Arcturus system stopped sending their daily reports, and we lost contact with the research station in the Centauri system 12 hours ago." General Hayes was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her words made everyone's blood run cold. "How fast do they spread?" "Based on what we've seen," Dr. Thompson said, "they can process an entire planet's population in about 2 weeks. Then they use that biological material to create new ships and attack forces. Each planet they consume makes them stronger. How many planets are inhabited in their path toward Earth?" General Hayes asked. Captain Miller checked his star charts. "If they continue their current pattern, they'll hit 17 inhabited worlds before reaching the Sol system. That's over 2 billion intelligent beings." The room went silent. 2 billion people would die if the Zephyrians weren't stopped. Admiral Morrison spoke first. "We need to evacuate everyone we can." "There's no time," General Hayes said. "Even if we had enough ships, which we don't, the Zephyrians move too fast. By the time we evacuate 1 planet, they'll have consumed 3 more." Dr. Alex Turner, the weapons specialist, joined the conversation from his laboratory on Mars. "I've been studying the alien ship remains that Captain Richards sent back. Their organic technology has weaknesses. It's vulnerable to certain types of energy and biological weapons." "What kind of weapons?" General Hayes asked. "Antimatter charges would disrupt their cellular structure completely, and I've been working on a biological agent that targets their reproductive systems. It would stop them from creating new drones." Commander Janet Ross, the tactical planning officer, looked worried. "Sir, using biological weapons is against the Geneva Convention. We've never used them against another intelligent species. The Geneva Convention doesn't apply to creatures that eat entire civilizations," General Hayes said. "These things aren't just killing people. They're erasing them from existence." Admiral Morrison felt the weight of the decision. "What are our options?" General Hayes was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was like steel. "We mobilize. The entire deep space fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every trained soldier. We hit them with everything we have before they can spread any further. That's 200 ships, Captain Richard said. The largest fleet in human history. It's not enough for a defensive war, General Hayes said. We need to take the fight to them. We need to destroy their ability to reproduce and spread. Dr. Lisa Parker, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. What about the survivors? The Villani we rescued are barely holding on. If we turn this into a total war, innocent people will die. Innocent people are already dying, General Hayes said. The question is whether we save a few thousand or lose billions. The surviving Villani elders were brought into the meeting through a translator. They looked like broken sea creatures, their beautiful colors faded to gray. But when they heard the human plan, their response was clear. Do it, the eldest Villani said through the translator. Save who you can. Stop these monsters before they eat the galaxy. Another Villani elder added, we have seen their factories. We know what they do to captured beings. Death is better than being turned into one of them. General Hayes nodded. The plan is called Operation Burning Sky. We'll hit every Zephyrian position simultaneously. We'll use antimatter weapons to destroy their ships, and biological weapons to stop their reproduction. We'll turn their own tactics against them. Captain Miller brought up a tactical display. Intelligence suggests the Zephyrians have a central hive mind. If we can find and destroy their main command ship, it might stop the entire invasion. Where is it? Admiral Morrison asked. Unknown. It's not with any of the attack fleets. It's probably hidden somewhere in dark space, coordinating the attacks. Dr. Turner had more information. The biological agent I've developed will spread through their communication networks. If we can infect one ship, it will carry the agent to all connected ships, including the command vessel. How long will it take? General Hayes asked. 72 hours to prepare the fleet. Another day to reach the first target systems. If everything goes according to plan, we can stop the spread within a week. And if it doesn't go according to plan? Commander Ross asked. General Hayes looked at each person in the meeting. Then, we keep fighting until there's nothing left to fight with. The meeting ended with orders flying across space. Every human ship captain received the same message. Report to your nearest fleet assembly point immediately. Prepare for total war. Captain Richards called his crew together in the main hangar. Marines, pilots, engineers, and scientists gathered to hear their orders. The room was filled with angry, determined faces. We're going to war, Richard said. Not the kind of war where we fight over territory or resources. This is a war for the right to exist. The enemy doesn't want to defeat us. They want to eat us. Ensign Martinez raised his hand. Sir, what about the other alien species? The ones that can't fight? We fight for them too, Richard said. That's what it means to be human. We protect those who can't protect themselves. Commander Walsh, the Marine leader, stood up. Sir, my men are ready. We've seen what these things do to prisoners. We won't let that happen to anyone else. Dr. Thompson added, the biological weapons we're using are designed to target only Zephyrian genetics. They won't harm any other species. Good, Richard said. Because when this is over, we want to be the kind of people our friends can still trust. The Vengeance and her sister ships prepared for the largest battle in human history. The weapon bays were loaded with antimatter charges. The biological weapons were prepared in special containers that would spread the agent through the Zephyrian hive networks. But the hardest part was the waiting. The human fleet would need 3 days to assemble. 3 days while the Zephyrians continued their feast across the galaxy. Dr. Parker received one last message from a Villani survivor on the planet below. The translation was simple, but heartbreaking. Thank you for trying to save us. Show them what Deathworlders can do. Captain Richard stood on the bridge of his ship and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, monsters were eating innocent people. In 3 days, humanity would show those monsters what happened when they threatened the peaceful species of the galaxy. The age of human mercy was over. The age of human vengeance was about to begin. The human fleet that assembled at the edge of the Altair system was the largest military force in the galaxy's history. 237 ships hung in space like angry metal stars. Massive dreadnoughts floated next to fast attack cruisers. Science vessels packed with biological weapons stayed close to carriers full of fighter pilots. Fleet Admiral Ryan Cooper stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Retribution. He was a man who had fought in every major human conflict for the past 20 years. He had never seen anything like this. "All ships report ready," said his communication officer. "Fleet is in position and awaiting orders." Cooper nodded. Through the big windows, he could see the ruined Vellani planet. The fires were still burning down there. The Zephyrian factories were still processing the last survivors. Every minute they waited, more innocent people died. "Begin Operation Burning Sky," Cooper ordered. The first wave of the attack came from Captain Holly Barnes and her stealth ship, the Shadow Strike. Her vessel was painted black and covered with technology that made it invisible to most sensors. She flew right up to the largest Zephyrian ship without being detected. "Antimatter charges placed," Barnes reported over the radio. "Getting out of here." The Shadow Strike moved away from the alien vessel just as the charges exploded. The antimatter reaction tore through the organic ship's hull like acid through paper. The creature ship screamed as it died, its cry echoing through space. That was the signal for the main attack. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Laser cannons cut through Zephyrian ships like knives through butter. Missile swarms exploded against organic hulls. Antimatter torpedoes created new suns where enemy vessels used to be. But the Zephyrians fought back hard. Their acid weapons ate through human shields. Their ships split apart when damaged, creating 2 smaller vessels that kept fighting. When one ship died, others nearby got stronger by absorbing its remains. "They're adapting to our weapons," reported Captain Lucy Williams from the cruiser Defender. "Their hulls are getting thicker. Our lasers aren't cutting as deep." Admiral Cooper had expected this. Switch to biological weapons. Release the agent. Dr. Nina Clark, the biological warfare specialist, worked at her station on the science vessel Discovery. Her hands moved over the controls that would release humanity's most terrible weapon. "Biological agent deployed," she reported, spreading through their communication networks now. The weapon was invisible, but deadly. It traveled through the same channels the Zephyrians used to share thoughts between ships. Within minutes, it reached every connected vessel in the system. The effect was immediate and horrible. Zephyrian ships began to shake and twist. Their organic hulls started to rot from the inside out. The creatures that made up their crews died in waves. "It's working," Dr. Clark said with satisfaction. "The agent is disrupting their reproductive systems. They can't create new drones." Major Chris Anderson led the special forces teams that landed on the planet's surface. His job was to destroy the factories where the Zephyrians processed captured beings. He and his soldiers wore special armor that protected them from the alien atmosphere. "Factory complex in sight," Anderson reported, moving to attack position. The human soldiers moved through the ruined Vellani cities like ghosts. They had trained for this kind of mission their whole lives. They knew how to fight in any environment, against any enemy. The Zephyrian factories were huge, organic structures that looked like cancerous growths on the planet's surface. Inside, the last Vellani survivors were being slowly converted into raw material for new Zephyrian drones. "Charges placed," Anderson said. "All teams, fall back to safe distance." The explosions lit up the alien sky like fireworks. One by one, the processing facilities collapsed into burning ruins. The screams of dying Zephyrians mixed with the roar of the fires. But Anderson's team found something worse in the deepest factory. It was a communication center connected to the main Zephyrian fleet. The walls were covered with star charts, showing every inhabited world in the galaxy. Admiral Anderson called over the radio. "You need to see this. They have maps of everything. Earth, the colonies, every friendly species we know about." Admiral Cooper felt his blood turn to ice. How many targets? Hundreds? Maybe thousands. They're not just attacking randomly. They have a plan to consume the entire galaxy. In space above the planet, the battle continued. The human fleet was winning, but the cost was high. Several ships had been destroyed by Zephyrian acid weapons. The carrier Yorktown was badly damaged and leaking air. "Sir," reported Captain Williams, "the biological agent is spreading faster than expected. It's jumping 2 ships in other systems." "Good," Cooper said. "How many systems are affected?" "At least 12. The agent is following their communication networks across the galaxy. Every connected ship is getting infected." Dr. Clark watched her instruments with growing excitement. "Sir, we're getting reports from all over. Zephyrian ships are dying in multiple systems. The biological weapon is more effective than we hoped." But the Zephyrians had one last surprise. As their ships began to die, they sent out a final message. It wasn't words or pictures. It was pure hate and rage, broadcast on every frequency they could reach. The message reached the hidden command ship in dark space. The Zephyrian hive mind realized it was under attack by a coordinated enemy. For the first time in their long history, they felt fear. "All ships," Admiral Cooper ordered, "prepare for final assault on the planet. We're going to make sure nothing survives down there." The human fleet moved into bombardment position. Every ship aimed its weapons at the planet's surface. They were going to turn the entire world into a burning wasteland. "Sir," Captain Barnes said from her stealth ship, "are we really going to destroy the whole planet? There might be Villani survivors down there." Cooper felt the weight of the decision. But he had seen what the Zephyrians did to their prisoners. He had seen the factories where living beings were turned into monsters. Some prices were too high to pay. "The Villani elders gave us permission," Cooper said. "They said death was better than being converted. We're going to honor their choice." The bombardment began at sunset. The human fleet rained fire from the sky. Antimatter charges turned mountains into valleys. Biological weapons poisoned the air and water. Nothing living would survive on the planet's surface. When it was over, the Villani homeworld was a dead rock floating in space. The beautiful ocean world, where art and philosophy had flourished for thousands of years, was gone forever. But the Zephyrian threat was ended. The biological weapon continued to spread through their networks. Ship after ship died across the galaxy. The creatures that had eaten entire civilizations were finally being eaten themselves. "Mission accomplished," Admiral Cooper reported to Earth. "The Zephyrian fleet in this system is destroyed. The biological weapon is spreading to all connected ships." "What about survivors?" asked General Hayes over the quantum communicator. 3,000 Villani rescued. They're aboard our medical ships now. As for the Zephyrians, Cooper looked at the burning planet below. No survivors. The human fleet began to spread out across the galaxy. They needed to hunt down any remaining Zephyrian ships before they could recover from the biological attack. It would take months to find them all. Captain Richard stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and watched the planet burn. He thought about the Villani children he had met 2 years ago. The ones who had asked him about life on a dangerous world. Now they would never ask questions again. The price of victory was measured in lost civilizations and dead worlds. But the alternative had been the destruction of everything humanity held dear. "Sir, Ensign," Martinez said quietly, "what do we do now?" Richards looked at the young officer. "Now we make sure this never happens again. We become the guardians of the galaxy. We protect the innocent from the monsters." The age of human expansion was over. The age of human protection had begun. 6 months after the Battle of Altair, the galaxy was a different place. The human fleet had hunted down the last Sephorian ships hiding in dark space. The biological weapon had done its work well. An entire species that had consumed civilizations for thousands of years was now extinct. President Sandra Mitchell stood before the Galactic Council on the neutral station of Harmony Prime. Representatives from dozens of species filled the great chamber. They had come to hear what the humans had to say about their new role in the galaxy. The Zephyrian threat is over, President Mitchell announced. Our ships have confirmed that no active hive clusters remain. The biological weapon we used has run its course and is no longer spreading. The chamber was quiet. Many of the alien representatives still remembered the fear they had felt when the Zephyrians first appeared. Entire star systems had gone silent overnight. Ancient civilizations had simply vanished. But we learned something important during this war, Mitchell continued. Evil doesn't announce itself. It doesn't give warnings. It comes in the dark and takes everything you love before you can fight back. A representative from the Crystalline Collective spoke up. Their voice sounded like wind chimes in a breeze. What are you saying, President Mitchell? I'm saying that peace is only possible when good people are ready to fight for it. The Zephyrians existed for thousands of years because no one was strong enough to stop them. That won't happen again. Mitchell activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations of new human military bases. There were hundreds of them, scattered across every inhabited region of space. The Terran Federation is establishing the Guardian Protocol, Mitchell said. We're placing permanent fleets at strategic points throughout the galaxy. Any threat to peaceful civilizations will be met with immediate and overwhelming force. Ambassador Poe Johnson, humanity's chief diplomat, stepped forward. We're not asking for territory or tribute. We're not trying to build an empire. We're offering protection to any species that wants it. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some alien representatives were grateful for human protection. Others were worried about human power. A few were scared of what the Deathworlders might do with their new role. What if we don't want your protection? Asked a representative from the Mentari, a species of scholarly aliens who valued their independence. Then you don't have to accept it, Mitchell said. But if someone attacks you, and you call for help, we'll come. That's what friends do. Dr. Carl Roberts, the xenarchaeologist, had spent months studying the ruins of Zephyrian facilities. What he found changed everything humans thought they knew about galactic history. The Zephyrians didn't just attack random worlds, he reported to the council. They had a pattern. They targeted species that were too peaceful to fight back. Over the past million years, they consumed at least 200 different civilizations. Roberts activated another display showing the remains of dead worlds. Each dot represents an intelligent species that was completely erased from existence. The Zephyrians didn't just kill them. They consumed their history, their culture, their very identity. The chamber was silent as the representatives absorbed this information. 200 civilizations, billions of beings who had lived and loved and dreamed, all gone without a trace. We found their records, Roberts continued. They were planning to consume the entire galaxy, every inhabited world, every space station, every ship. They wanted to turn all intelligent life into raw material for their hive mind. Captain Lucy Williams now commanded the Guardian Fleet's main base in the Centauri system. Her ships bore the names of the extinct species found in the Zephyrian archives. The flagship was called the Remembrance, after a species of artists who had been consumed 3,000 years ago. Status report, Williams said to her officers. All sectors report. Normal, said her communication officer. No signs of hostile activity. The biological monitoring stations are working well, added the science officer. If any new Zephyrian cells somehow survived, we'll detect them immediately. Williams nodded. The humans had learned to be careful. They had stations throughout the galaxy that could detect Zephyrian biology from light years away. If even one cell survived and tried to reproduce, humanity would know about it. What about the survivor settlements? Williams asked. The Volani colonies, in the Tau Ceti system, are doing well, reported the social officer. They're rebuilding their culture. The children are learning the old songs again. The surviving Volani had been relocated to a beautiful water world that looked like their old home. Human engineers had helped them build new crystal cities under the sea. It wasn't the same as their original world, but it was safe. They want to name their new capital New Altair, the officer continued. In memory of their lost homeworld, Williams felt sad, but also proud. The Volani were strong people. They would survive and rebuild. Their culture would continue, because humans had been willing to fight for it. Sir, the sensor officer called out. We're getting a distress signal from the outer rim. It's coming from the Rigel system. Williams felt her heart speed up. What kind of distress? Pirates, sir. The Andromedans are attacking the mining stations. They're demanding tribute. Williams smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. Send a message to the pirate ships. Tell them they have 1 hour to surrender and return what they've stolen. And if they don't, asked the weapon officer, then we show them what happens when you attack innocent people in our galaxy. The Guardian fleet moved out within minutes. 6 ships, led by the Remembrance, jumped to hyperspace. The pirates in the Rigel system were about to learn why the galaxy feared the Deathworlders back on Earth. Admiral Jake Morrison, now called Guardian Commander, sat in his office, reading intelligence reports. The galaxy was more peaceful than it had been in centuries. Pirates thought twice before attacking. Aggressive species kept to themselves. The mere threat of human intervention was enough to stop most conflicts, but Morrison knew the peace came at a price. Humanity had become the galaxy's policemen. They had to be ready to fight anywhere, anytime, against any threat. Sir, his aide, said the new recruits are ready for inspection. Morrison walked to the training facility where young humans learned to become Guardian pilots and soldiers. They were the best and brightest of their generation, volunteers who wanted to protect the innocent. Why did you join the Guardian force? Morrison asked one young woman. Because someone has to stand watch, sir, she replied. Because the monsters are always out there, waiting for us to let our guard down. Morrison nodded. She understood. The galaxy was full of beauty and wonder, but it was also full of dangers. The Zephyrians were gone, but something else would take their place eventually. There were always predators looking for easy prey. Remember what we learned from the Zephyrians, Morrison told the recruits. Evil doesn't give warnings. It doesn't play fair. It comes in the dark and takes everything you love. Your job is to be ready for it. The recruits saluted. They were young, but they were serious. They understood the responsibility they were taking on. The galaxy is counting on you, Morrison said. Don't let them down. Years passed. The Guardian fleet grew larger and more efficient. Human bases spread across the galaxy like a protective web. When pirates attacked, human ships appeared within hours. When hostile species threatened peaceful worlds, human negotiators arrived, with offers of peace and threats of war. The galaxy learned to live with the Deathworlders as their protectors. Some species complained about human interference. Others worried about human power, but most were simply grateful to sleep safely at night. Captain Ben Richards, now Admiral Richards, stood on the bridge of the newest Guardian ship, the Eternal. Watch. Through the windows, he could see the stars that human ships now protected. Each point of light represented worlds where innocent people lived and loved and dreamed. Sir, his communication officer said, we're getting reports from all sectors. Everything is quiet. Richards nodded. Quiet was good. Quiet meant families were safe. Quiet meant children could play without fear. Quiet meant the monsters were staying in their holes. Maintain patrol pattern, Richards ordered. Keep your eyes open. The galaxy is peaceful, but peace has to be defended. The Eternal Watch continued its patrol through the dark space between stars. Behind it, the rest of the Guardian fleet maintained their watch. Hundreds of ships filled with humans who had chosen to stand guard over the galaxy. They were the children of a dangerous world, shaped by a planet that had tried to kill them since birth. They were the Deathworlders, and they had made the galaxy safe for those who couldn't protect themselves. The stars shone down on a peaceful galaxy, protected by the descendants of Earth. The age of fear was over. The age of the Guardians had begun, and in the dark spaces between galaxies, nothing stirred. The monsters were gone, and the Watchers were ready.